Today we're going to be checking out Monster Pets in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to answer the question, can a general pet store that doesn't sell just fish do fish right? The answer, spoiler alert, yes. This place is incredible. It's not the largest fish area in a store that I've ever seen, but they fit a ton of fish into this area that you're going to want to see. So let's check it out. No fish store would be complete without an incredible display tank that you can look at right when you walk in, and this one definitely raises the bar on incredible. These fish are all mature, and you can tell that this tank has been running for quite a while, and the fish are very healthy and great looking, not to mention the types of fish that they fit in here. I just can't even believe the selection, and I wish I had a tank this large so that I could have these guys. Let's go over a few of them. First off, the clown loaches on the bottom are so funny. There's the one laying on the ground in the back that I thought was dead. I've never had clown loaches before, but I've heard that they live up to their name, clown loaches. It's not dead. It's just laying there on its side, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. There's the archer fish at the top, the massive silver dollars. There's the huge viejas. There's the datnoid that's swimming there on the right. There are just some incredible fish in this tank, and I was just obsessed. I couldn't get away from it. Not to mention the geophagus. How could I forget them? There's some spheni swimming around in there. I believe there's spheni right there in the front. Also some, I think they're Juraparis, some Satanopercas. I'm not sure exactly which variety. It could have been the Damians. I'm not sure. But just this incredible setup. You had the waterfall over top, and then the live plants just make this an incredible tank. And when you see it from the top, you can see how deep it is. They also had some other display tanks. You can see this amazing, although these are for sale, these got these Oscars and the catfish in there, not to mention the awesome stingrays, the gar, and the, what I believe is the albino arowana swimming there at the top, or it's just a lighter colored arowana, but it is definitely incredible. These tanks have a tremendous amount of volume. Oh, and then there's the datnoid on the bottom. So that's what makes this possible. But these ones are for sale, so you can buy some of these rays if you want. I'm not sure if the Oscars are for sale, but it looks like the rays are. And then, of course, your little mini koi pond here, and complete with the waterfall on top. Just makes this incredible tank. But you're going to see some awesome cichlids. These are some geophagus as we go through. And one of the other things that you're going to notice about a lot of these tanks is just the stocking. I believe they're probably 20-gallon tanks, all of them, except for the big display tanks and maybe some in the back. But they packed these tanks full. They had Epistogramma agazizii blue flash. Oh, I can't remember. I used to have these. I don't have them anymore, but they are incredible cichlids and kind of hard to find, actually. And I don't think I'd ever expected to see them in a fish store. So that took me by surprise, and if I was on my way home, I probably would have bought a pair. But pretty cool to see those in there. But most of these are 20-gallon tanks, except for some of these that I'm about to show you right now in the back. Great looking discus. Look at these nice round discus. You can tell by the size of the eye there, they're well fed and well cared for. And then you've got these non-albinos. I have some albinos. I like the albinos better, but these threadfin acaras right here look pretty incredible. I don't know what that guy is hanging on the heater right there. I hope he's alive. It looks like he's just kind of hanging out. I don't know what all the fish are in this tank other than the huge silver dollars. I do like the colors, the spots on those. They look pretty incredible, but pretty big fish. And they had quite a few tanks that were full of quite a few different angelfish as well. This red-tailed catfish, albino, or platinum, sorry. Red-tailed catfish on the bottom. Not cheap, but if I had a nice big pond, definitely something I would want. These are giant gouramis that are not giant yet, albinos, which is pretty cool. I just couldn't believe to see that many at that size in a tank together. I think this place probably has a pretty big customer base that is able to handle all of this, because they had some incredible fish. These piranhas, which is not legal in the state that I am in, but it's good to know that if I ever wanted to make a secret tank that I don't put on YouTube, I could go here and get some. I'm not going to do that, but I've thought about it. They had a lot of these pike cichlids. I saw a few tanks with pike cichlids. There were some pretty rare fish, some fish that you don't see in stores, that I had never seen in stores before. I usually don't see pike cichlids. They can be kind of aggressive. Lots of different kinds of Oscars. This adorable and tiny but still huge nuchal-humped flower horn that I just wish I could put in my pocket and take with me. Little peacock bass action going on there. But all of these tanks, you can see now what I'm talking about. Tons of fish, almost overstocked. Look at all the Severums in there. Almost overstocked. Like these jewel cichlids. Look how many jewel cichlids there are in there. It's crazy. And they seem to be just all colored up and looking great. I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they manage all of these tanks, but every tank that I looked at was packed full of fish that looked great, with the exception of tanks like this Vieja Argentia, or I think they actually changed the name of this recently, Mascajeros Argentia, I'm probably saying that wrong. They had 2 tanks of those, but they looked pretty good, and there were definitely a few tanks that they couldn't overstock because they had fish that would kill each other. And this is a few examples of that. But there's Central American fish. They had tons of them, lots of different viejas, like some that I had never even heard of before. Some of them hanging out by themselves because they probably don't get along with others. Obviously, electric blue cards, can't go wrong with that. Definitely a staple in the hobby. But tons of different cichlids. I'd never heard of that Geophagus before. Anybody know anything about the Teniaparis? Let me know. But here's some more viejas, tons of South American and Central American cichlids. More than I had ever seen in any store. And it's so cool to see like 30 of them in a tank. I know it's probably not good long term, but they looked amazing. The African cichlids that they had were fired up, lots of color all over the place. Really fun to walk through the African cichlid section and see all the ones that they had offered. And they had even Lake Tanganyika, they had a few tanks of different types of Frontosa, Cyprichromis. Anytime you see Cyprichromis in a store, I feel like that's a store that has a large client base because people only buy those as specialty fish that know what they are. So they had basically everything. These Medaka white lips in here. You saw the Calvis, tons of Mbuna, tons of African cichlids, peacocks, OBs of every variety that I could find. This was something that I suspect is due to their location, because the location of this store is pretty close to the airport. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It's something I thought of after I left the store. I was wondering if that had something to do with the selection that they had. Look at these yellowtail ACIs. Oh my gosh, they look incredible. But I wondered a little bit if their proximity to the airport allowed them to bring in a lot of fish. I mean, it's a large international airport, and they're literally just a few miles away from it. But they just had so many different fish. And like I said, look at I don't even know what that is, but look at the coloration on that guy. It said the name of it. I think it's a Central American. It might be another type of Vieja, but I'm not really sure. Another specialty piranha. I never really thought that people could just get into different types of piranhas, but that's kind of cool. Definitely a very beautiful fish, very misunderstood fish, but I really loved looking at all the different kinds that they had there. They also had these super red Texas. These are hybrid cichlids. I actually have one of these myself. And there's a difference between the faded and the unfaded. They start off kind of blue. When they fade, they get more red, so they kind of change color with over time. I'm not really an expert on exactly how that works, but what I do know with 100% certainty is that they are beautiful cichlids, which is why I own one. And I like what they look like, what you've seen here, when they're going through the fading process. Nice little Dovai action there if you like some big mean cichlids, and he's trying to attack the other tank, which is typical of what you would expect from them. But a few other different kinds of hybrids here, just incredibly looking viejas and hybrid cichlids with tons of color. Just amazing to see, because you just really don't usually find those in fish stores. They're not usually for sale because most people don't buy them unless they have a big tank for them or know what to do with them. So I just thought that was absolutely incredible. These are yellow firemouths, which I've seen pictures of as adults, and they're beautiful cichlids as well. Just as aggressive as firemouths, is my understanding. But they didn't sleep on the other fish either. Lots of live bears. Look at all these cories, panda cories down here at the bottom of this tank. It was so fun to watch. And they're live bears and barbs and tetras. I mean, just every variety, and you can see so many tanks of them absolutely packed full of fish. They had a lot of different rainbow fish. I didn't even count how many different rainbow fish they are because there was just every variety that you could possibly find. These mascara barbs were ones that I thought were kind of cool. Big old barbs that you can get. And of course the longfin cherry barbs, can't go wrong with those, an incredible fish. But ultimately just a large selection, longfin, threadfin rainbows as well as a beautiful fish. These platies on the bottom, I thought they looked very nice. Those aren't platies, mollies, sailfin mollies. There you go, got it right. And then of course the glowfish. Every good store has glowfish. Say what you will about them, they are pretty cool looking fish, but they had a very large selection of all different kinds of fish and cichlids. You see some more of these pike cichlids here. These look more like the dwarf variety, Compressiceps. I'm not really sure. I've never kept those, but I've definitely thought about it in the past. But a very beautiful cichlid if you've got the right setup. Lots of different kinds of tetras again. And these are empire gudgeons, I believe, which is another one that I have wanted for a very long time. But I feel like they kind of need their own tank. They don't ever look very good in the store, which is something that is a reason why a lot of stores don't sell these kinds of fish. Another thing I'll point out is you see a few of these tanks here that say not for sale under observation. I believe those are Epsi rasboras, kind of like the Harlequin rasbora you saw over there. But you see these not for sale tanks. This is always one of the first things that I look for when I go to any fish store is, do they have some sort of quarantine process? Do they have a way of watching the fish and making sure they're selling you healthy fish? And this tank had quite a few tanks that had signs on them that they weren't for sale. And one of the ways that you know that it's working, that their quarantine process is working, is just looking in general at the health of the fish, the activity level of the fish, but also looking for dead fish on the bottom of the tanks. And some of them are more diligent than others. You know, the stores that just don't have enough employees and things, they just always have dead fish on the bottom of the tank, and you can tell they're unhealthy. But actually, as you can see in this video, every fish is so active and colorful, despite the fact that they're massively overstocked in the tanks. So this was just an incredible visit. I hope you got some good ideas for your tanks, and I'll see you in the next one. Wish list out.